Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I'm going to show you how to play the competitive mode of Everdell Duo. This is going to be published by Starling Games. This is going to be in the Everdell line, so it's going to be in that universe. And this game here is going to be for 1 to 2 players. In this game, you're going to be playing as the tortoise and the hare in that epic battle between the two to see who will win. Let's go ahead down the table here, and I'm going to show you how to play Everdell Duo. All right, so this is Everdell Duo. Everdell Duo has 3 different modes to it. It has the competitive, the cooperative, and the challenge mode to it. We're going to go over the competitive mode, and I'm going to show you how to play that. That's going to be the basis that you need in order to be able to play the cooperative or the challenge mode in this game. So in the competitive mode, you're going to be playing over 4 different seasons, and each season is going to end once the sun and the moon token has gone to the other side. That should give each player about 6 actions per round that they can take. Now, setup of the game is super easy. Basically, what you're going to do is one player is going to pick the hare and one player is going to pick the tortoise. It's the tortoise versus the hare, which is a cool dynamic for a 2-player game. And each player is going to get 3 little meeples with the type that they pick. They'll also get a handy-dandy player aid, and you will also give them 2 cards. But how you're going to do that is you're going to shuffle up this deck here. Once you have the deck shuffled up, you're going to place a card on each of the empty spots on this board. Now make sure the board is on the non-number side. The number side's for the campaign. And then you're going to deal out 2 cards to each player and then set the deck aside. You're going to be using that throughout the game. Now, the other things you're going to be doing for setup is you're going to be setting up the season tiles. Now, the season tiles, you need to make sure that you place it on the non-skunk side. So see that little symbol right there? That is going to be the side for the competitive. This is going to be the campaign and challenge side. So we're going to place this over here. And you're going to go winter, spring. So this is the symbol for the spring. You can see it. Summer. And finally, fall. So you'll have all 4 of those lined up on the side there. The next thing you're going to do is you'll place out these 2 river tiles. So just shuffle up the river tile deck and you'll place randomly 2 out. These are going to change each round and be a little fluid. You'll also get to place out these event tiles. 2 event tiles that always go out are going to be the journey tile. This one's going to be one that you're going to win at the end of the game if you have the most cards in hand plus in your city. This one here you're going to win if you're able to go to the location and have one of each of the symbols. Now the rest of them come in 6 tile stacks. And these 6 tile stacks, there's A, B, C, D, and E. And now these stacks here, what you're going to do is you'll have them all individually separated. You'll shuffle each of the individual stacks. So I'll shuffle all the C's, all the A's, and so on. And then I'm going to take one from each of those stacks, and I'll shuffle that up. And then that stack of one of each of those A, B, C, D, and E will go across the top here in each of the open locations randomly. I'll also place out the sun and moon tokens, and then I'll place out all the resources so everyone can reach. And that's it for the setup. Super easy. Now, what are you going to do during the game? Well, someone picked the rabbit, someone picked the hare. We're going to go over these 4 seasons, and we're going to take one of 3 different actions. Before we do that, at the beginning of the season, you're going to look here, and you're going to be able to take these actions. Like this symbol here says that the hare will be able to draw extra cards, so they'll get a card here to put into their hand. The tortoise is going to draw a card and then can take one, if they want, from the top of the deck or from the meadow here, any ones you want. So if I take one from the meadow here and place it into my hand, I'll place a new one out here in the tableau to replace it. This also says who goes first. So the rabbit is on the left here, so that'll be the first player, and this will be the second player. And it'll alternate between rounds here. And I'll show you what these symbols mean in a second, but basically we're ready to go. It'll start with the rabbit player, and the rabbit player can take one of 3 different actions during the turn. The rabbit can place out a worker, can play a card, or can gain a card from the top of the deck or one from the meadow. Now there's a rule for the one from the meadow we'll get into in a second, but you'll notice these tokens right here. So if I place out a worker, I have to move the sun token. If I can't move the sun token anymore, I can't place a worker. For the moon thing, I can play a card from my hand as long as I can move the moon. Now, the draw a card or get one from the meadow, I can pick to either move the sun or the moon. Now, it does remind you down here, and I'll get to in a second, you could discard any 2 cards from your hand at any point, and because cards are always face down, to gain a resource of your choice. So, on the hare's turn, the hare can place one in a worker placement location. Now, there's several on here. You aren't able to place them on the top here until you actually meet the prerequisite to gain the reward. So, for example, this one here, I'm going to need to have 3 of any of these symbols in order to gain this reward. Or here, I need to have more than my opponent of these 2 symbols added together with the minimal, which is the minimal here, of 5. So I have to have 5 of any combination of these 2 symbols, and if I do, and I have more than my opponent, then I can get this event tile. Or this one here, I have to have 8 cards in my city, and I can gain that one. You will also gain the resource depicted as the reward, along with the tile for points at the end of the game. These locations down on the bottom here are going to give you different amounts of resources. Now, these rivers tiles, they're going to be reset every season, so you'll have 2 new ones out each season. But this one here, like, I can trade one of any resource in and I get 3 resources. Or this one here, I can draw a card from the top of the deck or on the that's out in the tableau, or I can play a card, and I can play a card for -1 resource. So that's pretty cool too. This one here gave me 3 wood. This one gave me 2 of the sap or the berries. This one here will give me draw a card plus any 1 resource I could choose. And this one here will let me draw a card from either the and now I said there were some rules where I was wrong. It's actually rules for construction, but I'll show you that in a second. That have to do with the meadow. You can get whatever you want from the meadow. And I can gain one of these construction tokens here. And these are pretty cool, which I'll show you what they could do in a minute. But that's the worker placement, where you're going to place your worker there, and all these are single workers, so you've taken that spot. Once you've done that, and I actually recommend doing this before you do that so you don't forget, but in the rules it's afterwards. Then you can move this the sun token, and the sun token is going to go to the next step, which will be in between some other cards. Now that would have been the hare. So the hare can come here, and then I'll get the 2 resources. All right, so now it comes to the tortoise's turn. They could place a worker out, or they could do any of the 3 actions. They could play a card. If you play a card here, there's several ways you could play a card. Well, one is, if it's a character here, it's going to always cost berries. So you have to have the number of berries here, and you can place it into your tableau. If you've played Everdell before, you'll notice that your tableau is your city, and there's a limit to the size. But in Duo, there is not a limit to the size. You could also play a construction building, and those have their cost right here. Now, there's several different types of buildings here. Let's see if I can get one of each type out. You're going to have some that give you different things. Let's like this one here is going to give you an immediate reward, so you'll get that immediately. This one here is going to give you a worker placement space, an additional 1. Now, in the original Everdell, you'd have to little open sign, which was sometimes hard to read. That allowed your opponent to go here. In Everdell Duo, that's not true. You could go to anybody's site if they have about. If you go to your own, that's fine. If you go to your opponent's, they'll gain a point each time you go. This one here, these purple ones here, are going to be end game scoring. And this one here is going to be for production. So you'll get this when you immediately place it down, and at different points in the game and seasons, you're going to see these little icons here. And all star means everything. So, but you'll be able to produce all of those cards you have with that. Or here, you'll be able to produce all your cards with that. for the other player. So these will give you production in two parts of, or 2 seasons. So the spring and the fall are the 2 harvest seasons. So again, you'll get it when you place it down, and you also get it when those seasons hit. So here's going to be sort of like a triggered effect that'll be ongoing for the rest of the game. Those are going to be the different cards that you can put it. So you could play a card. Now, one other thing you can do, let's see if I have something to match. I do. Okay, so if I play this building here, so I pay all the resources and I play it out, I will then need to move the moon token one. All right. Then, on a future turn, I can play a critter here if I have, or if I have one of 2 things. If I have the berries, or if I have one of these. If I have one of these, which is a resource you can gain, but doesn't count as any resource, you have to gain this to specific locations that have the symbol, I could place this on my construction building that matches the symbol of this critter, and I could play the critter for free. Now, you're only allowed to do this once per type, so I'm not going to be able to place another critter of this type in this manner. If I do that and I place that on a construction building, I'll have to use other types. So that's a neat way of getting things in. One thing I didn't mention, which is the rules for the meadow here, is I could also build anything that is adjacent to either the sun or the moon token. So on my turn, if I want to build a card, I don't have to do it for my hand necessarily. I can do one of the ones that is adjacent to the sun and the moon. So in this case, I could do these 4, but I couldn't do anything on this side. So that's another cool thing that you can do. Now, the other action, or the final action you can take, is you can draw a card. I can draw it from the top of the deck, or I can draw it from anywhere in the meadow. And once I do that, I can pick to either move the sun or moon token. So as the game goes by, this token is going to move down. Once both tokens are down here, all the turns are exhausted for the season, and the season will end. And we'll just go ahead and move to the next season. Now, when we move to the next season, everyone's going to get their workers back. The sun and the moon tokens are going to go over and back to the start. We're going to put out 2 new river tiles, and we're ready to go. We'll start with the tile here and resolve it here. So this one, since the spring is going to, the tortoise is going to produce, and then the hare will produce, and then the hare gets a bonus card for the round. Again, that shows who the star player is. So that round, the tortoise will be the star player, and we'll keep on doing this until we get to the final season. After we get to the final season, we'll do final scoring in the game, and we'll also start by checking to see who has won this journey card. So that'll be the person with the most cards in their hand and in the city will get the journey card. We're going to basically add up these little coins here that we have for points, and any end-game scoring will give us different, will also give us coins here. For example, this will give me 2 coins for each different resource I have at the end of the game, which is pretty cool. You'll also count up how many of the coins you already have, and the player with the most points is going to win. So in a nutshell, that's going to be how you play Everdell Duo. Now, there's 2 other modes in this game here. There's going to be the campaign mode and the challenge mode. The challenge mode, you're going to be fighting against the skunks and trying to complete to get different goals. That's going to be at the back of the book here, and you could see the different challenges that you can meet. So you could get the hard-working challenges here. You can have no productions in your city. You could have humble, no end-game points at the city, and so on and so forth. So you could do these different challenges, and that gives you different spirits there. Or you could play 2-player cooperative, and 2-player cooperative is going to go through this campaign book here, and you're going to have a lot of different campaigns here. Let's see how many there are again. There looks like 12, 13, 14 campaigns that you get to go through. 15 campaigns, so there's a lot of different campaigns, and these all have slightly different setups. The root game is the same, except for you're going to be playing against these skunks. You're going to look at the campaign that you're going to be playing, and it's going to tell you where the skunks will go. So this will need a skunk in the event. This will need a skunk in the meadow, 2 skunks in the meadow, and 2 skunks in the location rows here. You're going to roll this dice, and on this the flip side of this is going to be numbers, and whatever number it rolls on, you'll place the skunk out in each of those locations. If you roll the same number, you'll just move it over to the right to place it out, and you'll be trying to complete this cooperative mission here by scoring more points than not more points. You'll be trying to score points that are either going to be higher than the normal or hard final score. So it's not more points than the skunk per se, but the skunk, let's say, would at least score 85. You need to get 85 or higher to beat the game there. And there's actually, in the campaign mode, you're going to be able to do some scoring here. You'll be able to score your chapter. You'll gain points for not using the compass, which I'll show you in a second, and you'll lose points if you have to replay. Now, you can play each of these twice if you need to, so if you lose the first one, you can try again. If you lose the second time, you'll be placing a 0, plus you're going to be losing 30 points, which is rough. But and some of these chapters will give you two compasses. Most of them will give you one. What the compasses are is going to be these little tiles that you can use in the game, and these tiles will move either the sun and the moon token back. One of the most important things in the campaign is if these skunks end up here, which they can never end up there, but if they end up on this area here, you will skip over it when you're moving the sun or moon token, so it'll make the round faster. So those compasses can come into handy and sort of give you a leg up. Now, there's going to be these sharing tokens, which means you can share one resource in between each other per term. This green side, this side here, will only allow you to share when the sun or moon token's in the middle, and some of them don't have it, so you can't share at all. You also get these good news cards. In the normal mode, you'll be able to collect these between rounds if you don't use them, so you'll be able to gather them up and have more. In the difficult, or I don't remember what they call it, but in the harder mode, you only have allowed to have one between games. So this will give you a little bonus here. Basically, you shuffle this up, put 3 out, and pick one, and this will give you a potential bonus here to push you ahead in the game. So this, each player draws 2 cards. That could give you what you need to win the game. So that's going to be the Everdell modes here. I mainly went over cooperative, but cooperative you need to know to play any of the other modes.